Amen.
Amen. Calling the workshop to order for Wednesday, October 25th. I don't see any citizens who have not been here in the past. I know, Ms. Kidwell, you're technically not on staff, however, you know the routine. But welcome. And just take this opportunity for those of you who are watching online also to say thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to enjoy our workshop today. As people come in, if there is any need to say a comment, whatever, you have the opportunity to ask questions, and the participation of everyone is always welcomed and appreciated. Mr. Broski, would you like to lead us off?
Yeah, before we do that, good morning everybody. We just had received notification from DOE that we were named an academically high-performing district. Which, you know, not to gloat a little bit, only 14 to 16 districts qualify for that. And there's really three metrics that are used. One is academic achievement, which is assessment scores, but also budgeting practices. And I thought I would mention that, since you all are part of that whole process there, and also class size, like where we rank in class size. So, you know, when I hear that, I put it all together, it means that we're budgeting our money in such a way that we're limiting class size as well as providing quality instruction to students, and students are succeeding academically. So, congratulations to everyone on that accomplishment. So with that in mind, the very first item is, you know, I've reached an age now where I actually have to put these on. I have struggled for years to not put them on, but I'll go ahead and do that. The first item is our minutes for the special meeting on September 8th, the board workshop, and the student discipline hearings on October 6th. Any questions about the minutes? The second is the personnel consent agenda. You'll notice on this personnel consent agenda, there's 22 job description revisions. If you recall, you know, one of our missions in life is to revise all 263 active job descriptions by the end of the year. So you'll see packages of these coming each time. Some haven't been revised in a long time. Others have been revised in recent years, so you'll see all of that throughout this document, and a lot more to come as we proceed through the year.
Will you do one department per month?
We are. This looks like it's
It was
instruction.
Right.
And the very next one is our complete salary schedule. You know that 10-12-22 and 10-12-27 require us to have a document that outlines how all employees are paid. It's a combination of both contracts for CCA, CESPA, as well as administrative pay plans. As you recall, we settled the contract with CCA, our teachers union. The minimum base salary was raised from $47,500 to $48,250. In addition to that, there is performance pay increment, as well as a workforce stabilization bonus and a mentor knowledge supplement. With all of that in mind, we're very happy and pleased that contract's been settled. In addition, I do have some good news that others have not heard. The state has approved, like I think yesterday afternoon is when we got the email from the state, our TSIA plan. You know that each time, even though we negotiate that contract, it's sent to the state for final approval to make sure that it meets the statutes that have been in place over the last couple of years. Those statutes are quite robust and complex in how the state says that money needs to be spent. And so it's kind of a big deal nowadays when the state approves it. They've rejected many others and have sent them back. So very, very proud moment. In our CESPA contract, we gave a pay increase. Everybody is at least at the $15 minimum wage, as well as our maintenance trade skill workers received a $1.65 increase in that area, along with the workforce stabilization bonus. In the administrative area, within this document is a 2.4% increase. That's a $1,000 increase to the starting teacher, the starting administrator index within that, as well as the same workforce stabilization bonus. That's embedded within that document. Document's kind of lengthy, but you can see all the changes that are not related to the two contracts, because the two contracts have already been approved by the board, therefore they're not in red. But everything else is in red that's new for your perusal. Next, we have November 14th to 18th is National Education Week. There's proclamation in here, as well as November 16th is Educational Support Professional Days. You know, I can't emphasize enough how important it is to recognize our employees. You know, I was talking to a group yesterday and talking about labor shortages. Labor shortages are real. They're real in every aspect of our economy, whether you're in business, in industry, or whether you're in education. It would be naive to think that the education sector would be exempt from workforce labor issues. So it's so important that we recognize our employees and make an environment that employees want to work. In regard to teachers specifically, we are hosting tonight, 5 o'clock at the TTC. Anybody out there listening who wants information about how to become a teacher, perhaps you have a degree and you're thinking to yourself, I want to become a teacher, but I don't know how. 5 o'clock, the TTC. Show up, we'll sign you up, and we'll get you there. Right now, I think we have 29 instructional positions that are open. We still have a number of bus driver positions that are open, and even though we've hired 22 bus drivers, you know, we've also had people resign, you know, during that time frame. So just to keep up is a challenge for all of us. You know, we also do things such as intern recruitment. We actually go out and visit with each intern that's out there and kind of point out the Clay way and bring them on board and put our arms around them. And we'd love for them to stay and work in Clay County. Let's see, we're having another job fair on the 29th. We've been to fall recruitment fairs at Flagler, Bethune-Cookman, UNF had theirs yesterday. Valdosta State is coming up at the beginning of November. So that's my short way of saying we need to recognize our employees. Next, we have the K-12 academic services out-of-state and overnight travel. Next is an affiliation agreement between the school board and the University of North Florida, and this has to do with our physical therapist. And one of the things that we may or may not realize is that all of our secondary schools through athletics, we have, you know, we have fitness folks that work with them routinely, consistently. Preferred Physical Therapy in Fleming Island is the primary provider of that. But maybe you didn't realize that St. Vincent's actually contributes a little over $300,000, $325,000, and is a wonderful partner in that process and providing for some safety for our student athletes. So that's what that one is all about. Next is an agreement between LabCorp and the school board, and this is to allow our adult ed students to do their phlebotomy clinicals at LabCorp. Right, that would make sense that they could do that, and that's what this agreement essentially does. Next is an affiliation agreement between the district and Grand Canyon University. You know that we have affiliation agreements with, gosh, I never thought to add them all up, but probably dozens by now.
It would be, I would love to know all of the different states
Yeah.
that we have
Probably come up
affiliations
with a
with.
list of all the ones that we have agreements with, and you know, any opportunity to get a young educator into our areas, we need to maximize that, and that's what these agreements do. Next, we're proclaiming November 7th through 11th is School Psychologist Week. So we're honoring the work of school psychologists throughout our district and what they do for our students. Next is the 22-24 school health plan. You know that there's a plan each year with our local health department that goes over all of the particulars and responsibilities for health services within Clay County schools. Next is a data sharing agreement with FDOE, and what this allows us to be able to do is to know, one of the challenges of going to college for those that go in that direction, of course not every student's interested in doing that, but to fill out the paperwork involved sometimes is a challenge for families to be able to do that, and so the district would love to be able to provide assistance. Knowing who's filled it out and who hasn't becomes, advantageous as to who to help regarding that. So this is the time of year where guidance departments across the district wind up having college nights and attempt to help parents in the completion of that paperwork in order to get that done. I can tell you this personally, having filled out many FAFSAs. I actually filled them out before they had the link that tied your tax return to the document. That helped out like tremendously, because I remember going back to my tax return and sitting there and I see all the parents of kids that went to college all laughing now. It's one thing that we should provide that service and help out those parents that need some assistance in getting that job done, and that's what.
On a side note, the Education Foundation, I'm not sure if you're familiar with their website, but they have all sorts of connections. So if you go to the Education Foundation website, it connects to college and career information and specifically FAFSA information. And that's one of the state's Education Foundation's goals, to get more families involved with the FAFSA in Florida, because it's a really low percentage in relationship to the rest of the state. And on November 15th, they're doing these specifically at all the schools, but the financial aid night is going to be at Keystone on November 15th. So as many times as we can get into the schools and help, the foundation is definitely working on that as well. So it's just a thought.
The next item is proposed allocation changes for this year. You can see that there's a couple of cafeteria, early childhood, some ESE assistants, and the coordinated accounting position on this document.
I love seeing the ESE in there.
Monthly financial report for September is the next item. Next is the budget amendment report for September. Deletion of certain items. It's an all-time favorite. Next is the change order for Middleburg High School's roof repair and replacement. We did have a little bit of excitement. I don't know what day that was, in which we actually evacuated the school relative to that in the construction that was going on over there. I can honestly say 33 years, that's the first time ever in those 33 years that I can ever remember there being a reason to evacuate that proved to be real and legitimate, and was quickly put out as they were working on the roof. That's what actually caused it to occur. Okay.
But the roof is coming along nicely.
It's coming along
I
nicely.
pass there and you see the progress
And
is happening.
as part of that, it looks like the parking lot too was resurfaced out there. I don't want to say anything, but I was principal of that place for 5 years, and for 5 years I lobbied to have that parking lot done. The year that I left was the year that they that they did that. I think somebody was telling me something.
Mr. Bobsky, I was looking at the county's recent plans for widening 220
Mhm.
leading up to Middleburg High School. Is that going to affect the traffic pattern for student access or parent pickup drop off,
I
bus loop, all that?
don't believe so.
Okay.
You know, and there's an item on here too for Lake Asbury, you know, the widening there due to all of the,
Right, it looked like it's all gonna hit at the same time. It's all scheduled between 23 and 25, and it's the 220 corridor, 218 in Henley, and 209 in Sandridge, and 209 in, I don't know the name of that road, I think it's 315.
and that'll be another reason to preach patience with our transportation department as we,
Right.
We just have a lot of schools in those
Oh,
particular areas, so I just wanna make sure we're
all together, yeah.
prepping our parents for what Carline might look like.
We could add helicopters to our transportation.
Say it.
You know, that would be sort of interesting.
Build a bridge over the
Fly over it instead of under, you know, whatever.
Clay High restroom renovation contract award. Pre-qualification of contractors is after that. Window replacement at Orange Park Junior High. And then Green Cove Springs window and HV replacement. And then I believe the last item is the agreement relative to Lake Asbury Junior High, the widening of the road and all of that. And there's no discussion items. But if I could, Madam Chair, could I bring up the workshop?
Yeah, if you didn't, I was going to, so
Okay.
go for it.
So one of the things, there's a couple of items that are, they're all important, right? But these are ones that are even more important, and we're talking about, the question is when to hold a workshop for the December board meeting. We'll have 2 new board members at that time, and 2 things that need to occur. So we need to talk a little bit about the redistricting of elementary students for Spring Park Elementary, and that's a whole thing, a whole process in which we'll present options to the board. There'll be community meetings, there'll be the advertising, and then there's the final vote. And we want to make sure that we have enough time in order to make sure that we tell families that might be affected where they would be going to school. I will tell you that I was at a Rotary Club yesterday, and I said to everybody with a straight face, I said, you do know that if you move a student from one school to another, parents like that. The whole place erupted because they quickly knew that moving a student is not, not exactly a thing that's welcomed. I do think that a new school, takes on a different characteristic, but it's still something that we need to work through, and we need to start that process as soon as possible. The second is the impact fee study. That's ready to go, and there's a third party that's coming in to give a presentation on that. So then the question would be, what day could we actually do that? And I do realize that I got to reach out to 2 other board members as to the day. I know that FSBA is Tuesday through Friday of the week after, which is the week after the swearing in is the 22nd, and therefore that's the week of Thanksgiving. So I would assume that that's probably not a good time. Then you have the following week, which has FSBA, and I know that the new board members are going to that. Okay, so then when I look at it, the options are, which, if you come up with a different option, by all means join in. I'm just trying to get the work done, which is potentially the Monday, but I realize there might be some,
That would be Monday, the 28th
the 28th,
of November.
or the Monday of the board meeting,
which would be December 5th.
So let's talk about the Monday of the board meeting, right? You know, the reality is,
December 5th.
the reality is that if there is no change to what's been presented and everybody's good with that, we would just continue on with Tuesday being the absolute 48-hour deadline for change. So that cuts it really close if you go with that option relative to that. If you go the Monday, previous Monday, I believe that Ms. Bowley, you have something on that day, or?
It's with Thanksgiving, with that swearing-in ceremony on the 22nd, it sort of pushes travel plans to that Monday, but I can attend on the phone, I think.
Okay.
I have to look at my flight.
So Ms. Clark, Ms. Gilhousen, what are your thoughts
So we're
on?
looking at, to be clear, Monday, November 28th or Monday, December 5th?
Correct.
Okay. Either of those will work for me.
Say that
Either
either
of
of
those
them
are fine for me.
28th's a little tough because of an appointment I have scheduled, but
So
Okay.
that December 5th would be better.
would. What about December 5th?
open.
Are you guys locked into a Monday? Could we not do a different day? I see what you're saying.
Oh, we're at FSBA that whole week.
Okay,
And
that's right.
Tuesday is when the new board member
Right.
training starts, so that's, yeah.
And the only reason why Monday is that if we had it Monday morning on the 5th,
Mhm.
is if something were to happen and something needed to be changed, we can make that
We still have
that
the 48
change
hours.
by the 48-hour timeline.
Okay.
That was the
And
thought
how long,
process.
what time are we looking at on Monday the 5th and how long?
I would say, if the board agrees, 9 o'clock, and that would be probably a 2-hour meeting.
Okay. Can I verify by this afternoon? That gives
Yeah,
me a chance
sure.
to talk to.
Yeah, I haven't broached the topic with the 2 new board members, so we'll still be in talking about, hopefully we'll have that all worked out by the board meeting next Thursday. And then this way we can work that out in
So
the
we're
public.
looking at the 5th at 9 a.m.
That's what it's sounding like here.
Yeah. I like that date.
Does that work for you, okay?
I mean, if we have to start on the 28th, I can.
5th of December, right now we're looking at
Is
the
there a
5th
way
of
that we can
December,
do
Monday
it
the 5th.
at Fleming Island instead of here in Greenville on the 5th?
I'm sorry, well, I didn't hear you.
Is there a way we could have the meeting at the Fleming Island TTC instead of here on the
Could
5th?
you,
It's
could
up
you look
to,
up the TTT schedule, Terry? Let's put you on
Let me
the
just
spot
help.
over there. It's
Let me
like,
see if we got
everybody
access to
got
that.
quiet, and they're looking at you now, right?
if we could do it roughly 5, we even do
Would you
that.
do that if that's that? We need a northern end of the county.
We need
It's
it.
not-
Orange Park Elementary.
That would
I'm
work.
taking teacher leadership academy that day. We have teacher leadership academy at the TTC that day.
Apparently it's booked.
Okay, for the whole day?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's our,
Okay, so.
on October, on December 5th?
on December 5th, yes, all 3 rooms.
Okay, so we'd be here and you'll confirm, and then once, well, you won't be able to talk to Ms. Hanson because I believe she's out of the country
We're gonna
right
send,
now.
we'll send an email today,
Okay,
and then hopefully get a response.
we can verify that then. Okay, sounds good.
Yes, ma'am.
Anything else, Mr.
That's
Vice?
it.
Very good, thank you so much. And Mr. Bickner?
I have nothing, thank you.
Ms. Bowles?
Just to remind everybody that early voting starts, I think it's at Friday the 28th, is when the meeting starts. And so we have a referendum, so encourage everybody to push for that referendum, and that's really all I have.
The renewal the referendum renewal, I like
Yes, the
that.
renewal.
I like the,
Continuation of the additional 1 mil.
right. And then unfortunately, We should have put renewal, continuation, and whatever we could have
I don't
in the
think we
body of
could.
that.
I think as per statute, we had to keep that language, and that's why the title
Well, we
says
had to keep the number
continuation.
of words too, that was the
Right.
other thing, yeah.
Right, but I think we could add the charter school part of it, but we couldn't change the actual content of the referendum. Just the title of it, continuation of the additional 1 mil.
But the renewal is critical, and after what happened recently, already yesterday again.
I know.
Thank you for what you do, Chief. And thank all of your staff. Ms. Kidwell, you had a question?
I
I'm
did.
sorry.
I'm sorry. I see that it's a proclamation for the School Psychologist Week, November 7th to 11th. And I had a question of how many school psychologists do we employ and how understaffed are we? I've been getting calls from them that they're really working hard and they feel like they're understaffed. And I was just wondering if we knew that information. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Go ahead.
We currently have 4 openings. We have an applicant that I may hypothetically, potentially be offering a job to today. So that would cut that down. We have had 2, well, I didn't know what I was legally allowed to say and I'm on camera.
Maybe.
Maybe. And also we have had 2 of our part-time psychologists increase their hours, so that has been able to assist with that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, Ms. Kidwell? Thank you. Ms. Bullock, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
fine, that's
I
all.
I saw a wave over there and I
You're
thought,
fine.
let's go
That's all
back.
That's all I needed to say, thank you.
Okey dokey. Ms. Gilhausen,
Nothing for me.
Ms. Clark?
With allergies, I'm good.
Allergies, you're good. Oh, they're sneezing over there. And Ms. Kirkus?
Just echo what Ms. Bullock said about the 1 mil and ask voters to please support our police department, our safety and security. It's just so important to keep our children safe. That's it, thank you.
I can't reiterate that enough. I had the opportunity to educate in a couple of different organizations, and the referendum renewal is critical. I know a lot of people are thinking about it, and citizens told me, it wasn't something that I said, it wasn't something that I referred to, but I was informed, well, Mrs. Bola, if we don't pass this referendum, where does the money come from? And I had to say, the money comes from our budget, because this is a mandate by the state to provide those resource officers in every single one of our schools, not just the high schools, not just the junior highs, but every one of our schools. And if we don't have this referendum, we will have to absorb those costs. And I don't know that people understand that. It's not a, oh, well, then the sheriff's office is gonna pick it up. No, we still have to pay for that, and we as a school district will be paying for that. So this referendum renewal, the continuation of the 1 mil is absolutely critical to the operation and the budget that we have.
You're right, I don't think people realize that we don't get any funding from the sheriff's office, that if we were to contract with them like we did years ago, school district still pays for that.
Correct.
I don't think people realize that. I guess the only way to really show that it would come out of our budget is to show what programs would have to be cut, because in order to absorb it, something has to give.
Something has to give.
Something would have to give.
And the comments, and I know, like, social media there are times when I just want to flush it and start all over with people. But the comments about how we don't work together, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you have no clue how well, I mean, we've had recent experiences with how well our police department works with the sheriff's office.
Oh, yeah.
I was at Charles E. Bennett yesterday morning with our Elks Club, and the Green Cove Springs Police Department working well with our police department, and the Orange Park Police Department working well. And it is a joint effort. This is not a us and them. And it just gets so frustrating when I read those types of comments because my fingers hover. And I think I can't explain the passion. I can't explain the importance of what I feel is just a critical job that you all do, Chief. And in talking, I walked to school at Poe the other day. That was fun. You drive over there, you get out, you walk, and then you walk with the kids. But I was talking to one of the roving officers that was there, and he was telling me some of the stuff that he had done just that week. And I thought, and without repeating everything, it just blows my mind as to how important you guys are in the schools and what we do with our students and with our children and the importance of that. So
Let's have faith in the community and hope that they see the value in it and support the
absolutely,
millage.
absolutely. And I think, just wanted to mention a couple of things. The Special Olympics track meet is coming up on November 10th at Ridgeview High School. I mentioned the financial aid at Keystone on November 5th. December 2nd is our Alumni Hall of Fame. And I know that they are in the foundation committee that is responsible for that is in the final decision-making as to who those individuals will be. And I pulled this out just to make sure I had all of the other things that were coming up. I believe that is it. So, on that note, before I go, any other comments, questions? I think we're good. Once again, oh, by the way, thank you to all of you for what you're doing and answering all of the alumni questions from Orange Park High School. I know those have been fun. Now that people are seeing activity, it's like, wait a minute.
They're mostly excited, I think.
Oh, absolutely. It will be awesome. So, on that note, you sure, Ms. Carrick? We have
wait, one more thing.
Too late, no.